Ooh, what do we have here? Another scrumptious young plaything straight out of life and into my club? You smell new, little boy, like fabric softener dew on freshly mowed astroturf. Oh, I'm not frightening you, am I, duckling? What do we have here? Another scrumptious young plaything straight out of life and into my club? You smell new, little girl, like fabric softener dew on freshly mowed astroturf. Oh, I'm not frightening you, am I, duckling? I'm the finger down your spine when all the lights are out. I'm the name on all the men's room walls. When I pout, the whole world tries to make me smile, and everyone always wants to know who is that girl. I can tell you and I are going to get along just like fire hoses. When we get turned on, there's bound to be flames. Oh, I was just thinking about this delicious little pancake who came into my club and wasn't so sweet because he was soaked in vinegar. Oh, I was just thinking about this delicious little pancake who came into my club and wasn't so sweet because she was soaked in vinegar. Aren't you just the teeniest bit curious about me? Come on, don't be shy. Say the right thing, and I just might bare my soul. Or something else. So's the world, but we all keep riding on this moonlit carousel regardless. I am Jeanette, and this bit of chaos crammed in a certifiable giggle is my club. I just love to give you funny feelings all night, sweetheart, but I really must trouble with some business. We'll reunite sweet and soon, I promise. Well, since you don't care, I'll tell you anyway. My name is Jeanette. This is my club. And you should play nice, because I can be really fun when someone's not trying hard to piss me off. Better bring the butter the next time we toast. How odd. I was just having naughty thoughts about you. You made quite an impression earlier. Did you come up just to cheer lonely little me? Not even a knock? I could have been undressing. And who knows what I would have had to do to you. You're here to see Her Royal Majesty Queen Victoria, aren't you? Therese is out making a show of how well her lips fit on the pants seat of the Camarilla. Did you happen to find her chastity belt or something? Really? Do I often pogo stick through your thoughts wearing nothing but a smile? Be honest. Or don't. I'd be kinder to me if I were you. What a gruesome thought, though, me being you. I suppose that'd mean you'd be inside me, and that's definitely never going to happen if you don't change your attitude. Ooh, can I see it? So, Therese told me you might be back with something for her. Do you have it with you? I'm not just some silly doll, you know. All my life, my sisters made me out to be a joke. She told you I was an embarrassment, didn't she? That I couldn't tie my shoes, let alone hold on to something for her. Is that it? She's always belittling me. She's the smart one. She's the favorite. She's the successful one. Well, it's not fair. I'm not a fool. This club's success is just as much my doing as it is hers. Do you understand what it's like to have your own flesh and blood ripping you apart on a daily basis for 2 lifetimes? Can you? It's beautiful. Like a knight in shining armor, dangling at the end of a noose. That was cliché and predictable, but you can say it any time, and I'll act like you were the first and only. Are you sure that's the kind of thing you want to say to me? Keep bending me, and I'm bound to snap. Oh, did she now? I spend a few nights with Bertram, and all of a sudden he's the pox of Santa Monica. Paranoia and Therese have been bedfellows for longer than I can remember. Indulge my curiosity. What did you really think of Therese? We're identical twins. There are nuns that sin more often than her. In fact, she won't even feed unless it's poured into a glass for her. Myself, I like to bite. That is unfortunate, isn't it? I wish I could do something about it, but Bertram won't believe it's off until he hears Therese say it's off. And as I told you, I'm really not sure where Therese is. However, would if I could, kitten, so sorry, but she doesn't tell me much about her business. But I do know something you could do for us in the meantime. Something that would make us very grateful. I know, you've got my sympathy, really you do. I do need your help for something, and I can show my appreciation in a lot more creative ways than Therese ever could. Pretty please, for me. Leave now, and Bertram will never help you. I'll see to that. So you can make believe you adore my every word and help me, or you can go back to the prince with your head in your hands. Do you know Gallery Noir down the street? I happen to know there's a charity event being organized there. Lots of influential Santa Monicans slithering in for token appearances. But there's one thing they don't know. The whole event's been set up by a kindred trying to establish their own power clique in our city, and we can't let that happen, can we? So I need some brilliant young upstart to spoil the milk. You don't need more enemies this early in the game. Give it a few years. They'll come. I thought we went over this. Therese isn't here. Until he hears it from her, Bertram's like a windshield in the deep blue sea. Invisible. I promise this won't take long. Take this knife. Give the paintings in the gallery a good slashing. Don't get caught, and don't turn it into a massacre. And steal the charity box, would you? Buy yourself something velvet. I'm sure Therese will be thrilled to honor your agreement when you get back. But in the meantime, get to the museum and ruin those paintings. Then pay me a visit. I want to hear all about it. Hurry up. I can only amuse myself for so long. It's not what you think. Every pretty penny dropped in that box is going right into some other kindred's purse. You'd be crooking from a dirty steal. Leave the wine in the cask. I'll harvest that blood when it's time. Tonight there is no harvest moon. Got it? I'm so relieved you're safe. I wanted to warn you when I heard it was a setup, but Therese pulled a gun on me and I locked myself in the bathroom and she's threatening to kill me and you have to help me. It was a setup. Listen, I know we've had our differences, but you have to trust me. Therese tried to have you killed. I had to lock myself in the bathroom because now she's got a gun and... Please, you have to help me. Therese knew it was you at the gallery all along. She set you up and... Did you hear that? She's crazy. She paid those thieves for a hit. She'll kill anyone who gets in the way of her becoming the top dog of Santa Monica. Teresa's gonna kill us. Without me, you'll never get out of Santa Monica alive. Hurry! I don't know how much longer I have! Oh, it's you. I'm surprised you returned to the scene of the crime without your girlfriend Therese here. Come to bury the bitterness between us? That time's past. Way in the past. So be a B-E-E and buzz off. I've got no honey for you. Hello, kitten. Did you come back for me? Even if you didn't, just nod your head. I'm all gooey. I didn't think you'd be back so soon. Any particular reason for this unexpected visit? Although, it is a pleasure to see you again. The tide goes out, the tide comes in, and then it waves goodbye again. It'll take me a few years to wake this city up. The Camarilla tried to get its hand down my skirt, so I slapped him in the face. Prince. The only title I want is for a cherry red Porsche. I'm sure they're out for blood, but I have a few new sugar daddies, Nines and Isaac. Know 'em? Oh, sweetheart, desperately these nights. I'm just a lonely little girl on a rainy day. Know any games we can play? Think harder and dirtier. I'm not into that kind of thing. Maybe you should go. Oh, well, it's a little different, but entirely possible. Come sit next to me on the bed. I'll show you. Should I draw a map for you? The gallery's right down the street. Hello, sunrise. Back to burn me? What all swayed kittens do. On hands and knees you lap up the milk of me. And we purr, kitten, like dragonflies buzzing around frog bellies. Fine, you hold on to it. Since you are so willing to brave that big spooky place for my darling sister, how about doing a teensy-tiny favor for little troubled me? On the inside, we're all dead meat, kitten. She's crazy! Help! I wasn't sticking my fingers in anyone's pie, dear sister. Your city? Last time I looked, it was called Santa Monica, not stuck-up bitch. Oh, Therese, you really do paint a flattering portrait of me with your turn-of-the-century barbs. I always assumed you could do nothing but look down on me. Let she who is without sin cast the fierce tone. Don't you call me that! I'm your sister. How can you treat me like this? Father? Oh, Therese, you poor deluded dear. I treated Father exactly the way he deserved to be treated. And he treated you like a... Your heart still belongs to Daddy after all these years, eh, sister? You take that back, you bitch! Hello, kitten. Here, kitty, 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 kitty. What? Oh my, a Malkavian. This ought to be absolutely delicious. Two minds as crazy as ours, and who knows just what might happen. Oh, but you've got it bad, little boy. Not sure exactly what is real and what isn't? Janus, let's see. Isn't that a two-faced Roman god? Of course, you're right. You just happened to meet the prettier face first. Oh, but you've got it bad, little girl. Not sure exactly what is real and what isn't? Janus, let's see. Isn't that a two-faced Roman god? Of course, you're right. You just happened to meet the prettier face first. Wait until Therese hears that. I am white to her black. She'll be absolutely furious. Of course, I won't be wearing white to any weddings, but we can talk about that later. The world is a bubbling blood cauldron, and yet we all just keep going in for a dip. Does that make any more sense? No one flirts like a Malkavian. Your compliments make me positively tingly. Oh, and there was something about the paintings. What was it? I can't remember. Oh well, have fun, duckling. Please, come in. I do apologize for my sister's crassness if it made you uncomfortable. She's unabashedly scandalous, but in the club business, I suppose that kind of personality's a necessary evil. Nonsense. She's nothing but. She's got issues she's still trying to get over, and so she's locked herself in the bathroom. Jealousy, really. You see, I was the family favorite, and I'm the successful one, and as you may have noticed, she's obviously starved for attention. Under the half-shirt and miniskirt, she's rotten to the bone. Please, get to the point of your presence in my city. That I am. My sister's schoolgirl in distress act may bring patrons in, but it's my level-headedness that keeps it open. Therese Vorman, yes. I'm the proprietor of this club, and the only person in this city whose good side it's in your best interest to stay on. What brings you to Santa Monica? Jeanette is the freak show I keep around to lure in curiosity seekers. She's very good with the clientele, but her business skills are approximate to those of a 4-year-old with a $1 bill and a 5 and dime. Tongue's exile is self-imposed, I assure you. But then what reason would I have not to hate that loathsome Nosferatu scoundrel? Bloody Nosferatu. They're so unclean. Tongue's exile is self-imposed, I assure you. But then what reason would I have not to hate that loathsome Nosferatu scoundrel? No offense. He meddles in my affairs. He's a bad influence on my sister, and she on him. If you were in my place, would you let him compromise your authority? You most certainly would not. I'd quite like it if I never had to hear that name again. Why would I do that? Let him think I mean to kill him. That way I don't have to worry about him sabotaging everything. Do you realize how his subterfuge makes me look to the Camarilla? I'm not sure the Camarilla would find that an acceptable method of dealing with one's rival, and right now, I very much need their approval to become officially recognized as the legitimate administrator of this city. Tongue and his co-conspirators' actions ruined my chance at partnership in a crucial piece of property. I do have several other promising ventures, and one in particular has been, to say the least, an ordeal. I'd be willing to put the word out that my grievances with Tongue have been swept under the rug, but in return, you'll have to help me remove a particularly burdensome spirit from a property I'm looking to invest in. Oh, I forgot. You're still new to this. Allow me to break you in. Yes, ghosts exist. Werewolves, mummies, and I'd expect a whole lot of other things I've never seen share the night with us. I suppose he would if you killed me. But as I understand it, your existence is very tenuous at the moment, and the slightest mistake could be the final nail in the coffin. Listen, you're young and naive, so I'll offer you this chance one more time. Continued existence versus a beautiful sunrise. I'd give it serious consideration. You're new to this, aren't you? Were you trying to dominate me just now? That was so stupid it was almost cute. Almost. Rumor is that a personal item of a ghost may be used to draw it out or excise it from its haunt. While I don't put a lot of stock in hearsay, it's my last option. So I want you to go to the Ocean House Hotel, find an item of the spirits, and bring it back. As much as I'd like to ensure it's done properly, you're in no position to refuse. That is, if you still want me to call off the feud. You don't. They're perfectly harmless. If you have to tear the building apart, do so. 3 construction crews have already refused to go back to work because they've been spooked, so to speak. Oh, I fully intend to do so. You'll find that dealing with me on the whole is appreciably more predictable than dealing with some of the egomaniacs that are my peers. So long as our business doesn't go sour, my word is gold. If you'll excuse me, I've got situations to set straight. You, what were you thinking? How could you give her that item from the hotel? Do you know what she did with it? She threw it into the Pacific. Do you know what this means? It means that I can't get rid of the spirit now, which means that property is useless to me. And to make matters worse, someone's just gone and ruined my event at the gallery. Shut up! I thought I could control my sister as long as Tongue was out of the picture, but nothing's changed. Because of them, I'm in a worse position than I was before. The Ocean House is worthless. So our business is forfeit. The feud is on. Seldom life is. I should have never entrusted this with an amateur. Did you contemplate the consequences of your actions for even a moment? Did you? Well, if it's any consolation, you're not the first to be used by Jeanette. We had an agreement. You blew that agreement. Even if my sister was at fault, you played into her hands. And I've all but had her destroyed for her actions against me. In fact, I may have been too severe with her. Incompetence I can forgive, somewhat. Threats, on the other hand, I do not tolerate. If you want to stay in my good graces, if you want to accomplish this goal of finding Tongue, I suggest you do what I ask. Don't you think I'm aware of that? This is my city. I know everything that goes on from borders to beach. But listen to me, fledgling. If you want to please your prince, you'll do what I ask. I'll make it easy this time. Jeanette and Tongue are a noisome beauty and beast. Between them, they've nearly crippled my plans. I can control Jeanette, but once she's found a partner in crime, she turns into a bloody nuisance. Underestimate her? She's a clown, a painted, perverted joker on Tongue's strings. Jeanette does things on a whim, for amusement. Underestimate her. Don't insult me. You're not the first to fall victim to her duplicity. I'd like to make an exception for you, but still, it's inexcusable. If you want to get back in my good graces, there's something else I need you to do. What? You can't tell me what to do anymore, Father! You'll never tell me what to do ever again! What? You can't tell me what to do anymore, Mother! You'll never tell me what to do ever again! I made some threats against my sister. Idle threats, involving fire and her impious satin sheets. She took them quite seriously, and is avoiding me. I want to meet with her, and explain that they were said in the heat of the moment. I asked her to meet me at the Surfside Diner, to reconcile, but I'm busy with the club and my other endeavors. I'd like you to go to the diner and promise her that I don't plan to take any action against her. Wait for her in the back booth, near the phones. Jeanette is my sister and my child, or did you forget? What kind of monster would I be to condone such action? You have no more right to do such a thing as you do to even ask it. Go! Get out of here! I want her back. For all her unwholesome diversions and irritating disruptions, I should be less tolerant of her. She is my sister, however, and I suppose I'm obligated to forgive her trespasses. I did sire her, after all. Please, be quick about it. I want to see my sister. Yes, I'll call it off once I've spoken with her myself. Just do what I ask. I need to speak to Jeanette face to face. I don't have time to argue about it. I don't have anything else to say to you. I won't forget what happened here. But I'd advise you to. If you keep silent and stay out of my business, we'll never be at odds. Just remember whose city this is. Good evening. I assume you're doing well for yourself. What brings you back to my domain? Since Jeanette's passing, I've had little trouble managing this city. In fact, my allegiance to the Camarilla over the Anarchs is now official. If anything were ever to happen to LaCroix, I'd have a relatively good chance of being the next prince. I'm cleaning it up. The Sabbat will never get a foothold here again, I assure you. I am, at last, in full control of this city. The museum! That was my event! Did you think I wouldn't find out? Shut up. I thought I could control my sister as long as Tongue was out of the picture, but nothing's changed. I should have expected that you'd succumb to Jeanette's influence like all the others, but how dare you! Don't lie to me! Jeanette already confessed she tricked you into doing it. It was probably all Tongue's idea. I'll deal with them later. But that's still no excuse for you ruining my museum. My museum is wrecked! Do you understand? Now, if you'd like to atone, or if you'd like to provide further assurance of your innocence, I have one more task that has to be dealt with. Jeanette claimed you did it for her, but let's say I believe you. After all, you've acted decently and rationally up to now. I imagine you'd still like me to call off the feud. Excellent! I'll take that. However, there's only one problem. If Tongue gets word that I threatened Jeanette, which he most certainly already has, it's not likely he'll believe me. So, in order to call off the feud, you're going to have to convince Jeanette to forgive me first. You know, when you address me that way, I'm almost inclined to believe you were responsible for what happened at the museum. So I'll ask you one more time. Will you go settle things with Jeanette? Let me explain the situation to you. Either you do this and absolve yourself of guilt, or you refuse me. I believe you actually did destroy the museum, and I won't help you get to Tongue. I'm terribly sorry about that. My sister was just furious about your refusal to take part in her designs, so she sent those men to kill you. But I'm going to make sure it never happens again. Drop by. We'll take care of this Tongue business. Of course you weren't. Just like you weren't working with him. So vulgar. I can't even look at you sometimes. You Jezebel. Just the sight of you. The sight of that wicked, painted pout, concealing that dirty, diseased mind. Sin! You have no shame. Go ahead and mock me. You pull your pranks, make fun of my ways. It suits you. You're just one big joke. Should I start calling a duck a pig as well? Is it any different than the way you treated Father? You don't say a word about Father. At least he loved me. That's it, Jeanette. Run away from the truth. I'll take care of everything, as always. Before I forget, take this. The only way to reach the ocean house this time of night is through a tunnel in the sewers. You'll need that key to open the gate for that tunnel. You. I'm really sorry it had to end this way. I truly am. You seemed promising, but you've been tainted by the stink of my sister's schemes. And now I'm going to make sure she never double-crosses me again. You stay out of this! To think anyone would risk their life for this filthy, tainted waste of blood. This will just make it easier to kill both of you. Don't listen to her. She'll kill us both. Save me and I'll help you find Bertram, I swear. Help! Save me and I'll help you find Bertram, I swear! Shut up, Jeanette! I warned you to stay away from Tongue. He's turned you against me. I always looked out for you, but you couldn't stand my success. You had to meddle, didn't you? I didn't want it to end like this, but you forced me. You never gave me any credit for anything, Therese. I was the one calling the shots. Bertram was dancing on my leash. How does it feel to know that I beat you? Isn't it obvious? I'm about to rid the night of this deviant, backstabbing whore. Do you realize that despite her condition, she still fornicates with Kine, no less? So despicable. So unclean. You're one to talk, dear sister. Or should I say daddy's little girl? Do you want to know just how depraved the Baron of Santa Monica can be? Shut up, Jeanette. You'd love the world to think you're a saint. When you thought I was asleep, I used to hear Father come in at night. I heard him whisper how much he loved you in your ear before he... Don't finish that sentence, or you're dead. Don't you want to hear what happened? How she became the pillar of the community she is today? Shut up. Just shut up! That's right, Jeanette. No one wants to hear your lies. I was the good girl. You were the wicked one. And despite that, I've always covered up your mistakes. I've taken care of you. And this is how you repay me. Taken care of me? You've done nothing but keep me down. Blame me for every mistake. Did you expect me to let you rule my life until the end of time? No, sister. You've had it coming since our last sunrise. Is that right, dear? If it wasn't for me, you would have never survived this long. Remember? They tried to separate us, but I refused. I chose this life and brought you into it so that we could stay together. Obviously, you've forgotten. She's a control freak. People, things, emotions. If she can't control something, she gets rid of it. And you're a wild animal. You'll rub up against anything that'll take you in for the night. Then when you're stuffed and bored, you bite the hand that fed you. As I said, to trust Jeanette is to trust a famished jackal not to eat you while you sleep. Therese'll never let you live. You've disappointed her. I used you, yes, but I didn't try to have you killed. Therese has no problem with killing, do you? Remember Father? Father loved me. I was a good girl. I always did what I was told. You always hated that he loved me. You disobeyed him. You brought men home when he wasn't there. You were an awful daughter to him. Father came home drunk one day and mistook me for Therese because I'd fallen asleep in her bed. Don't listen to her. She's lying. Therese walked in while he was there, and she saw me lying with him, and so she went to the closet and pulled out his hunting shotgun, loaded it with deer shot, and blew his mind out all over the silly clown wallpaper. That's a lie. Father killed himself because of Jeanette. She made him miserable. As I recall, he died with a smile on his face. As you shouldn't. I'm afraid, sister, I must write your ending in this family saga, and I want you to know I do so with great anguish and disappointment. I had such hopes that you'd change for the better with my guidance. But, so, sweet sister, is this how it has to end? I admit I always knew this night might come. Well, any message you want me to give Father? An apology? A love letter? You seem like a decent sort, so I'll make a deal with you. Don't interfere, and I'll call off the feud. Once my sister's been taken care of. Oh, I just knew you'd come to save me. I promise you, if you help me out of this, I'll make sure you find Bertram. I swear. With Therese out of the way, I can do a lot more than just that for you. Had his way with you, and he didn't have to force you. You went limp and became his plaything. Do you think I didn't hear it? Night after night? Always the obedient daughter until... Would you like to tell the story? She makes herself out to be the virgin queen of the night, pious as a nun, stable as the earth's orbit. But it's all an act, isn't it? I'm the good girl. You're the wicked one. You've done nothing but plot against me when I had our best interests at heart. And despite that, I've always covered up your mistakes. I've taken care of you. And this is how you repay me? Don't try and stop me. I've had to overlook her treachery, her seduction, relations with my enemies, and the consequences of it. But I won't endure her any longer. Endure me? Dear sister, you've done everything you could to smother me. You love to bury me in your closet along with all your other skeletons. I don't think that's possible. How could I ever think to trust her again? Trust me? Who could trust you after what happened with Father Dearest? I was always good to Father, but Jeanette made him miserable. Over the years, it all became too much for him. I think she broke his heart, so he killed himself right in our room. Killed himself? Therese! You placed his finger on the trigger once you blew his mind all over the silly clown wallpaper, right after he found me in your bed and thought I was you. He was always angry at you. You drove him to drink. When he died, he was in torment. The police sure did. They broke us up for a little while, remember? The first thing you did after your escape was find me. Enough! Don't say another word about that. Why? How will this time be any different? What? Her body was cold before she died. What an awful thought. Do you know the things she does with her body? How vile! I'd be better off without her. Have you been paying attention? Oh, yes, Therese. Without me, you'd be free to remake this city in your own image. It'd be the first beachfront morgue. Therese doesn't like to share. Jeanette's irresponsible. She's undependable. A venture like mine requires class and distinction, which is something a pigtailed, face-painting harlot does not lend very well. You do have a way with words, sister. You're right. I'm not in the same class, am I? I mean, murderers are so respectful these days. More responsibility. So that she can ruin every opportunity I give her? Of course. You're the only one who can secure zoning permits and shake hands. I'd never be able to keep up. But I only do it for attention and out of love. You do it because you're vindictive and jealous, and you deserve it. If she would stop treating me like a child, if she would start behaving like a rational adult. Yes, there was a time. When I was a child, I didn't have many friends. I suppose Jeanette was the only one. We never did get to go out of the house much. Father wouldn't allow us. He said we'd get hurt, so we stayed inside and we imagined our own worlds, and we spent so much time there together, ruling over those places. Those were happier times, before we grew apart. I never did. No, I guess I don't. Jeanette, if I were to offer you equal control in Santa Monica, would you quit consorting with Tongue? I'll stop working against you with him. But since I've got him in my pocket already, there's no reason for me not to pay him a little visit once in a while, when he can be of use. That's not a bad plan. There's just one more thing. I want to be in charge of Santa Monica, but only publicly. I want you to continue to convince others that our relations are strained. That way. We know who our enemies are. I agree. Take it. I'd hate to look at it again and think of what almost transpired. I suppose now that Jeanette and I have settled our differences, I'll call off the feud with Tongue. Bertram's hiding in an empty oil tank at the old gas station. I'll tell him to expect a visitor, and I'll ask him to be extra nice. Please give Santa Monica's regards to the prince. And keep your tongue tied about what happened tonight, or we'll have to kill you. Goodbye, sister. I had to do it. You do understand. It was her or me. Now that she's been dealt with, I no longer have to worry about Tongue. He's a minor threat without her. I'll call off the feud. Wait here. Tongue's hiding out in an abandoned oil tank at the old gas station. I'll tell him that one condition of a truce is that he help you. Our business, then, is finally complete. What you witnessed here, not a word to anyone. Do try to stay cautious. I'd hate to see one so promising meet an end because of wayward trust in another. I may have need of someone like you in a few years. If you're still around, I should turn this on you next, but I won't. Without Jeanette's assistance. Tongue, you're no threat. I'll call off the feud if that will get you out of my city. I killed her. I didn't want her to go. I only wanted her to change. You understand, don't you? Poor Therese. You wanted to find Bertram. He's at the old gas station in an empty oil tank. He'll help you because I'll ask him to. But you must keep your tongue tied tight about what happened this night. Understand? Don't hesitate to come see me once in a while. I'm going to be so lonely without Therese. I mean, I may need someone like you sometime, and I do get bored so easily. Maybe you could come by and cheer me up sometime. I killed her. What was that shit about finishing me off? I should do you next. But my suit is hearts, not clubs. All the cold blood was in Therese. Good evening. Hello, sweetheart. We're bridging valleys, but I still can't persuade her to wear eyeshadow, and you won't. I did get word from the prince. Oh, let me tell him. Oh, let me tell her. Be my guest. Therese has officially sided with the Camarilla. Could be a prince one day. And I just happened to find the pendant from the ocean house. As soon as I've solved this problem, we call Jeanette. I'll happily send you on your way to Tongue.